Hello everyone. So today's video is on the next chapter, chapter 5, which is the chapter on planning. So before this chapter, we've been talking about the environment that management works in. We've been talking about the groundwork and how the discipline of management has evolved to adapt to the current circumstances in this century, in this day and age. The way management is conceptualized has changed a little bit, and the environment in which managers are working has changed. So we talked about ethics and sustainability, and we talked about um, global management and all those other issues. So now we actually start with the four functions of management, and the very first function of management is planning. So what I'm going to do, just as all the other times, and I'm going to share my screen and go over some of the key points in this chapter, stress over them. There might be an activity or two, so please keep your pen and paper ready and feel free to pause and go back over the video whichever way you like. So let me start this. I'm going to, all right. So you should be able to, at this point, see the slides that I have in front of me. All right, so let's talk about planning. What is planning? Planning pretty much is coping with uncertainty by formulating future courses of action to achieve specified results, right? So it includes setting goals, deciding how to achieve them. What it pretty much talks about planning is all about getting ready for the future. And for any organization, whether you are a new organization, just starting, if as a startup, small business, large business, you should be doing planning, irrespective of whether it's the very first time you're starting the organization or you've been a business for years. Planning is not something that you do just in the beginning. It's an ongoing process, and we'll talk about more about that throughout the semester. How planning is a step that you keep revisiting even after you've gone to the other functions. So the four functions of management are planning, organizing, leading, controlling. But there could be points in organizing that you realize, the way things are being done don't really match with the plan, or the way things we are doing things are showing us that we had problems in our planning. Well, it's fine to go back to your planning if you need to. So, but planning is essential. Why? Why should you plan? Well, planning helps you check on your progress. You know, um, planning essentially helps you coordinate activities, right? And it helps you think ahead. But most importantly, planning helps you cope with uncertainty. It helps you prepare your plan B scenarios, your what if scenarios, right? So, so let's think about planning not from just an organizational perspective. Let's look at it from a personal perspective as well. All right. Think about planning for yourself, right? Um, what would be, you're a student right now. How many of you had a very definite set out plan of action and a plan before you started school? And if you did, go over that plan. And if you did not, maybe now is the time to stop, go back to the drawing board, because we've seen planning helps. Planning helps you get prepared. What if I have financial problems and I'm not able to finish school? What would be my plan B? How would I get money to finish school? Or you could plan ahead of time and think of, what if everything is gone the way I wanted it to, and suddenly my last semester when I want to graduate, I realize that there is one class that I never knew I had to do, and now I have to take that class before I can graduate. You should be ready for eventualities as much as you can. Now, do remember, you may not be ready for every single eventuality that comes your way. That's all right. We're human, and planning understands that. But what planning does is helps you prepare for all the other eventualities and be prepared for all the other problems ahead of time, so that when that big problem comes that you hadn't even thought of, it's okay. All your other ducks are still in the row, right? So that's why planning is important. But here's the thing: why not plan, right? Why would organizations choose not to plan? Or what do you think could be downsides of planning? Could there be downsides? uh, Most of you are probably thinking, yeah, there are downsides. Planning takes too much time. You're wasting time that you could be actually using to do things instead of plan for things. Or you may say, sometimes you have to make decisions without a lot of time to plan. So you can't just sit down and plan. And those are the big reasons: time, money, and inability to understand how important planning is. So, no matter what your reasons are, planning is important. If organizations are not planning, they're doing a disservice to themselves. So, they need to. And remember what I said earlier: you don't need to be a new organization. You can't say, well, we've been in business for 10 years. We don't need to plan. No, it's all right. You can still make plans going forward. You can still look at what you're doing. You will walk over what does a plan really involve. So, what are the fundamentals of planning? What does planning or a plan really involve? So you'll see here, planning has these 5 basic steps, right? So the very first step that you want to look at right here under mission is develop mission statement for your organization. It's very important to have a mission. And what is the mission statement all about? A lot of times people confuse mission and vision. And when you look at organizations on their websites as well, you will see a lot of times they're confusing the two things as well. Those are two very different things, right? So let's look at what is a mission statement. A mission statement clarifies to you what is your reason for being an organization. Why are you a business? Right? Why do you exist? And so a mission statement expresses the purpose of your organization. And why do you need to have a mission statement? Well, it's really important to have a mission statement because your mission statement guides you, right? What is your reason for being? Are you a telecommunications company, or are you a cell phone company? And those two things will make a difference between how you approach your strategy. Or Missouri State University, are you a university of higher learning? Or are you a university of higher learning that contributes to the community? Well, the second portion will help the university understand that it wants to or it needs to do things that are community involved. So the mission statement is a very important guiding statement that helps you understand who you are as a company, and it helps your employees understand where to use their energies so that they don't go off on a tangent. Along with the mission statement should be a vision statement. Right? The vision statement is slightly different. The mission statement looks at who you are. Vision statement looks at who do you want to be, right? Where do you see yourself going in 10 years, 20 years? Some companies would even plan as far as for the next century, right? So vision statements are looking at your long-term goal, describing what you as an organization want to become, giving you a clear sense of the future and a clue to the actions that are needed to get there. So what I'm going to ask you to do is maybe pause right here, and here's an activity, and we'll come back to the other slides, the rest of the slides in just a minute. But what I would say, go ahead and pause the video, go over this activity and do it. This activity is going to help you understand a lot more of the mission and vision statement than just reading the chapter or just listening to the video. So what you need to do is find or pick 3 companies, right? Don't look at your computer. Don't go find companies. Just think of 3 companies that come to your mind that you are interested in understanding or learning more about. Any 3 companies. So write their names down and then go to their websites, right? Do some research. You go Google them, put their name in search engines and pull up their mission statements and their vision statements, right? So the first thing that you're going to do when you pull up their mission statement will be answer the question, what is our reason for being? How does this company answer that question? And I want you to compare the mission statements for all 3 companies once you have collected them. And what I want you to do is go over and think, do you think any of these mission statements could be adapted to different companies offering different products or services, right? Um, the reason I'm asking is some companies would have very specific mission statement, right? The more specific the mission statement is, the more it helps the company. However, the downside of a specific mission statement might be that it limits adaptability to the changing environment, right? So there are upsides and downsides in both having a very specific mission statement or a very vast, broad mission statement, right? Um, and then you look at vision statements, right? Vision statements would be, what does this company want to become? So look at the vision statements of all three. Now, I will tell you that there are chances that when you pull up the mission statements or the vision statements of these companies, you might run into the problem that it's not easy to find. It's okay. Internet is a really good resource. Use it. Use different keywords. Some companies have information on their homepage, in their About Us page. Some companies don't necessarily have it in their About Us, so you have to do a little bit more digging somewhere else to find their information. Or B, you might find out that some companies don't really put a separate mission and a separate vision statement. They have it collapsed together, and then it becomes your job as the reader to understand which portions are the mission and which portions are the vision statements, right? So once you've done that, look at the vision statements of all three companies. Can these statements help the companies stay ahead of what's happening in the world around them? Can these vision statements help these companies compete? Remember, we've talked about what is going on in the 21st century, what is happening in the world today, all the different forces and the challenges that managers have to face and companies have to face. So, do you think these vision statements help these companies stay ahead? Another heads up that I want to give all of you about looking at these mission and vision statements is the shorter mission and vision statements are better. If a company is able to express themselves completely in just one or two sentences, that's perfect. Think about it. The more complicated a statement, the harder it is for people to understand it and use it, right? So pay attention to those things too. You might be surprised at how some of the big companies may not have done a very good job with their mission and vision statements, right? So now that we've gone over the activity, take a pause the video, do the activity. Might take you about 20 to 25 minutes, a little bit more, and then come back to the video. All right, so by now you must have completed the activity. So let's go back. So once a company has a mission and vision statement, and now when I go over this, it will make sense why I want you to look at mission and vision statements of other companies, because it helps you understand the other three steps in planning: strategic, tactical, and operational, right? Because your mission and your vision statements are the roadmap or the guiding principles to making these plans. And while you're looking at the mission and vision statements, go for it. Look up Missouri State University or your university's mission and vision statements as well and see. Or if you don't want to look at the universities, look at the company. If you're working for a company, your company, what their mission and vision statement is. See how they match up to the other companies that you've looked at. So once you have these statements, it's time to look at strategic planning. And strategic planning is usually done by the top managers. So the CEO, the CFO, the top management team usually does the strategic planning, and they will set strategic goals. And usually these goals are 1 to 5 year long goals, right? They determine what the organization's long-term goals should be, and they keep in mind the resources they expect the company to have. Once these strategic plans have been made, these strategic plans are passed down the chain of command, and they're given to middle managers who look at the strategic plan and then go forward with it and decide, all right, what is our tactical plan? Right? I have these, this is the strategic plan that's been handed out to me by the CEO, and these are the goals the CEO has, and these are the action plans. So now it's time for me as department manager or a division manager to look at how can these goals be converted into tactical goals, or things that we do in the next 6 months or 24 months that help us achieve that plan that the CEO has. And once they've made those plans and goals, remember each plan has to be broken down into goals, and we'll talk about the goals, what goals are. But each plan needs to be broken down into goals, and then goals need to be further broken down into an action plan, because till you break a plan, you may have a plan. I have a plan to be the richest person in the world. Well, how are you going to do it? You need to break it down into your goals, all right? To be the richest person in the world, what do I need to do? What is my strategy? And what are my goals? So I need to get specific education, I need to get a specific job, or I need to open this business. These are your goals. And we will talk about how you need to make them more specific. But then to do all these things, what is the action plan? All right, to get this degree, what's my action plan? Which university am I going to? When am I going to go there? How long am I going to be in the university? What kind of degree am I going to get? Or if I'm opening a business, what kind? Where's the funding coming from? How am I going to access that funding? Those are all action plans. So it's really important to take your goal or your plan and break it down into achieve your goals. And so once the strategic plans have been made, tactical plans have been made, then these tactical plans go to the first line managers. Usually, if you remember, first line managers can also be sometimes called supervisors. So now the supervisors know what the goal of the department is and how they need to make the plans of how in the next week. What am I going to get my employees to do in the next week for us to be able to reach this goal that our department has in a year, right? So those are operational, day-to-day plans. We talked about plans. Now we talk about goals or goal setting, right? I mentioned earlier that it's really important to have your plans broken down into goals, but not just any goal. It's really important to have a specific, a very, very good, what we call SMART goal, right? SMART goals are goals that have these 5 features. They're specific, measurable, they're achievable, results oriented, and time specific. So let me go over each and talk about what goal. Specific goal is a goal that should be specific stated in a specific rather than a vague term, right? So instead of saying, we as an organization, we want to do better this year. It's really vague. What do you mean by better? A specific goal would be, we want to do 3% more profits this year, or we want to have 30 new customers this month. That's a specific goal, right? A measurable goal, the next thing. What's a measurable? Well, whenever possible, a goal should be measurable or quantifiable, right? If you say we just don't want to do better, A, it's not specific, but B, it's not measurable either. So how about a goal where you're saying, I want to do better, and you say, well, we want to have 30 new customers. Not only is that goal specific, it's also become measurable because you can measure the number of customers that you're getting each month. Let me take another example, right? I want to increase the job satisfaction of my employees. Okay, you're specific. Instead of saying, I want my employees to be happy, you're saying, I want to increase the job satisfaction of my employees. Now, you need to be able to measure it. How do you measure job satisfaction? So you look at and you say, I want 80% of my employees to score highly satisfied on the job. Well, that's specific and measurable. But now the next thing becomes achievable. Is your goal really achievable? That's really important, right? A small example I usually take is, the weight loss goal. That's an easy one to understand for many people. If you want to lose weight and you decide, I want to lose 25 pounds within the next 2 weeks. Those of you who've ever done any kind of weight loss measure, you've done any health initiative, 25 pounds in 2 weeks is completely unachievable. It's too drastic. Chances are either you will set yourself up for so much failure that within the first week you will stop working on it, or you will make yourself sick trying to get it. So there is a problem if the goal is too difficult. For example, in the earlier example, the job satisfaction example, I said 80% of my employees should say they are highly satisfied. Why 80%? Well, think about it. It's really next to impossible for every single person, to make every single person in your organization happy. There are always outliers. There are always people who may not necessarily be happy with what you're doing. But if you can get 80% of the people to be happy, that's very good. That's actually a very high score. So we know the problem with having a goal that's too difficult. Well, what's the problem with having a goal that's too easy? So most of you probably already thought about that. If the goal is too easy, you probably won't work for it. So don't make the goal too easy. Don't say, I want, at least half of my employees to feel that they're satisfied. Not highly satisfied, just satisfied. And I only need half of my employees to say that. That's too easy a goal, right? So shoot for something that's achievable. Not too easy, not too hard. We've seen when you have that optimum difficulty level for the goal is when the performance also jumps high. The next one are, sometimes people talk about R as standing for rewards, or it could also stand for results oriented, right? A results oriented goal, would be one where you're only choosing one or two goals. You don't have too many goals that you're choosing. Don't pick up happiness and number of new customers and all those things. Have specific results. And results that you will be able to measure. Remember, in the measurable, you're looking at the final thing, but have results that you can measure. So, say, you're picking up number of goals. They pick 5 goals for any work unit. They should support the organization's vision, right? In writing out the goals, start with the word to and follow it with an action-oriented verb. So, to complete, to acquire, to increase. So, for example, to decrease by 10% the time to get passengers settled in their seats before departure. That would be a goal for an airline, right? Some verbs should not be used in your goal statement because they imply activities, right? The tactics used to accomplish goals, such as having baggage handlers waiting. So you should not use to develop or to conduct or to implement. Better to use to complete, to acquire, to increase. And the final one is time specific. Your results should really be set for a deadline. There should always be a deadline. Think about it. If you don't have deadline, for most of us, we don't really work. And we work the hardest by the time the deadline approaches. It's really important to have a deadline. If your goal is to get 30 new customers, well, what's your deadline? The end of the month or the end of the quarter, right? If your goal is, let's assume a school goal, right? You want to make a smart goal for yourself. I want to graduate with a bachelor's in business and a 3.75 GPA by spring of 20 some year, right? 2020, 2025, so whatever year that you have in mind. That's time specific. You've given yourself a clock. And when the clock is running, you will be making sure that you are doing your efforts as they're needed and you're not slowing down and you're not losing motivation, right? So it's really important to have a target date. So right here is a little graph, and your book probably has this graph too, that shows you the relationship between goal difficulty and performance. We talked about it earlier. That if you look at right here, if the goal is too easy, performance is low. But as the goal difficulty increases, performance increases. At this level, moderate level, it stays high. But then if the goal starts becoming more difficult, your performance starts falling down. So you don't want that. All right. So remember, I told you planning is not a one-time event. It's planning goes in a cycle, right? There is a cycle for planning. You make a plan, look at the first step, right? You carry the plan out, and then you control the direction. So when I say control, I'm not saying you control people. You keep an eye on the efforts. Are your departments or are your employees making their efforts in the right direction? Are they wasting their effort on something that will not help with the plan? Or are they misinterpreting the plan? Or it could be possible that you made a plan and you've made a very, very difficult goal to achieve. Well, it's a good idea to keep your eye on performance and see, hey, did I make things too difficult for my people? So, for example, if you're saying to your employees that they need to, let's assume you're in a bank and you're telling your employees they need to open 8 new bank accounts every week. And that may be extremely unachievable goal. Keep an eye. Look at the averages. Look at the range. How many new accounts is the highest performer able to open up? How many is the lowest performer able to open up? Keep an eye on how they're going, right? And then correct any deviations in the plan, right? Return to step 2 if you need to, or you might need to return to step 1 and change your plan, right? So keep an eye. It's really important to do that. So, for example, when you're in school and your goal is to get a 3.75 GPA, and one semester you get a 3.5 in all your classes, you average out a 3.5. Well, so the question would now be, do you need to go back and change your plan and say, maybe 3.75 is not achievable for me, and I need to make a plan to get 3.5 GPA? Or should you go back to number 2 and 3 and say, you know what, my original plan is 3.75, and this semester I got 3.5. So next semester I need to make all 4.0s to be able to come back up. And to get all 4.0, these are the classes that I need to take, and maybe I need to stop going out to parties, or maybe I need to study 2 extra hours or 5 extra hours. You'll change your strategy, you'll change the way you're doing things. So that example is very similar example to what companies should be doing, to looking at what are we achieving, what our plans are we going in the right direction, do we need to take corrective action, do we need to change what we're doing? And that's it. That's the end of the chapter. So go over this video again if you'd like to, and feel free to send me any questions that you might have about the chapter or the worksheet, the exercises that you just did. And if you don't have any questions, till next video, this is me signing out.